So let's talk about folding smartphones, because on this channel I don't think I ever talked about folding smartphones, and I think it's time to talk about folding smartphones as a whole. And there is something very interesting about folding smartphones. Apple just released a patent for the first folding smartphone from Apple. Now this is only a patent, but they have patented a design that's making me believe that in the future they are going to be doing a folding smartphone, just like we've seen from companies like Samsung, for instance, with the Galaxy Fold. They are going to be doing one, and this one looks very interesting to say the least. Are they actually going to be doing one, or is this only a patent? Most likely, I don't think Apple is going to be doing a patent just to be patenting a product. I think they are actually going to be doing a fold style phone. It does make sense. If you look at where the industry is going with smartphones specifically, then you will know that the industry is definitely going towards foldable phones, and it does make sense. It's trying to break the mold between your traditional smartphone, and we've had the same smartphone design for many years, and I think it's definitely time for a change and to try something a little bit weird and a little bit different with smartphones than your typical flat slab when it comes to smartphones. So this is definitely going to be interesting. And let's talk about the Galaxy Fold, since I never talked about the Galaxy Fold as well. So the Galaxy Fold was definitely a very interesting smartphone. It was set to release, I think, last month, but basically what happened was they had to pull the plug on the Galaxy Fold because the Galaxy Fold had a number of different problems. A lot of people said that their Galaxy Fold just flat out, the screen busted, and a lot of people were peeling off the plastic screen protector on the inside of the actual Galaxy Fold, and then that caused the phone to actually stop working. So you can see there was just a number of different reasons with the Galaxy Fold that had to have that phone recalled. It was pretty much kind of like dream concept, or kind of like a product in its prototype stages, because it really wasn't a fleshed out product. And you can see Samsung and some companies just really don't care if they don't have a fleshed out product when it actually comes on the market. But if you take a company like Apple, for instance, Apple is actually a company that definitely does care about their quality of their products, and they would never want to put a product out there that's kind of like in its infancy stages, or like it's in its early stages of quality. They want to make sure when they do come out with a product, it is going to be a quality product, and they don't want to take a chance like Samsung, and they don't want to do something like release the Galaxy Fold in its stage where it could not be a fleshed out product, and there could be a lot of problems since it is a brand new idea and it is a brand new concept, and who knows how well this brand new concept is actually going to work. And of course, most likely there's going to be problems with the first folding phone since it is such a brand new concept. But that's why you're not going to see Apple actually release folding style phone until they actually get the concept 100% right, and they don't want to release a product that's kind of like half-baked, kind of like what Samsung did. So this is actually very interesting, but I do think they are going to be doing some type of folding phone when it does come to one of the next iPhones in the upcoming years. I do think they are headed that way. Let's talk about my opinions and my thoughts on the whole folding phone and smartphone world when we're talking about different things. I'm actually a person that's actually interested to see where technology takes us when it comes to folding phones, when it comes to these types of different things, because I think it's very interesting. And I will admit, as much as I love smartphones, as much as I keep track of all these different smartphone brands, all these different smartphones that are coming out, I will admit the smartphone industry as a whole, when it comes to tech specifically, I will have to admit something. I do think it's starting to get very repetitive and very stale, since all we do get is a flat piece of glass and a flat piece basically that you just shove in your pocket. So it is going to be nice, and it is going to be a fresh of breath air coming from a tech enthusiast like myself to see where folding phones are actually headed. Let's talk about the first folding phone, the Galaxy Fold. What did I actually think of the Galaxy Fold now that it has been recalled, and when we first seen tech reviewers get this thing and actually talk about it? Honestly, for me, even though this thing was $2,000, and even though this was pretty much the first folding phone consumers could actually buy, or it was actually fully out in the wild, I can definitely say I was actually a big fan of this. Call me crazy as a person, but honestly, if this thing was in this current state, even if it looked weird, or even if it had problems, honestly, as long as the actual device worked as promised and it never had any problems to where it would not break down, then honestly I would have actually bought this, because I think it's a very cool concept. I love the idea, but at $2,000 it just does not make sense, because you're spending double the amount of money that you'd be paying for a normal smartphone that's $1,000, even if you buy the cream of the crop. And for most normal average day Joes, or even people like me who are even tech enthusiasts, can admit you're pretty much getting ripped off if you buy the Galaxy Fold. What does the Galaxy Fold actually provide over a traditional smartphone if you're going to pay $2,000? Sure, as time goes by, of course, smartphones are going to be getting cheaper, so of course it will probably get down close to maybe $1,000, $1,200, $1,300. It'll be around that price point one day, but when it first comes out, it's not going to be that high. So of course, it is going to go that way. If the product was maybe $1,000 or maybe $1,100, then maybe I would have taken a chance on that device and just bought it as my next smartphone, because the way I see it, I actually love everything about it. I will admit it's not a flawless concept, and there's so many different there's so many different designs when it comes to folding phones. There's no one solution is best, and we really haven't seen too many implementations of folding phones that are actually out in the wild besides the Galaxy Fold. Sure, there's been some other videos of other companies like Huawei and these other companies who are making these folding phones, but we've really only seen one in the wild, and you really can't say that that's going to be your favorite type of a folding phone, because folding phones can fold so many different ways. We have phones that fold in like a book, like the Galaxy Fold. We have ones that wrap around. We have ones like the Motorola Razr that's supposed to be coming out. It's supposed to be one of those old flip phones, but both pieces have a screen on them, and it's one flat screen. So that's pretty interesting as well. So who knows what type of folding phone I would actually like when it comes to all these different folding phones. But there's not enough on the market to really say the Galaxy Fold would have been my favorite. But it is, for what it is, a phone that I would be willing to use. I liked almost everything about it. I guess the only flaw for me physically with the Galaxy Fold smartphone was the fact that the Galaxy Fold smartphone did not have a big screen on the actual front. The big screen on the front of the actual phone, or the main screen on the front before you opened it, was absolutely a joke. When I seen that thing, it was just too small. The bezels around it, or the forehead and chin, were just too big. Overall, it just did not make sense. And why would you want to use that as your everyday smartphone, especially the front of it like a normal cell phone? Most likely when you buy the Galaxy Fold, 99% of the time, you're going to open up the Galaxy Fold. And I think a lot of people who reviewed the Galaxy Fold that got their hands on it did agree with me. They thought that the outside screen really did not make any sense. Basically, the outside screen of the Galaxy Fold was really meant to be a screen that you were just going to look at and maybe make a quick call, or maybe make a quick text, or maybe browse the internet really quickly, but you weren't going to be sitting on there hours and hours looking at that screen. It just really did not make sense, but it was still a usable screen, and it did make sense for quick things. Most likely, you were going to be opening up that device. And the biggest thing I love about folding phones as a whole is the fact that they are bridging the gap between what a typical smartphone can be, and not just that, they're bridging the gap between what a smartphone can be and what a tablet can be. Sure, they're not as big as a tablet, to be honest, we all know that, but just to have a device that can kind of make somewhat of a compromise, not a full compromise, but somewhat to make a compromise between having a smartphone in your pocket and then having a tablet in your pocket, is absolutely bonkers and absolutely amazing. I don't know what outside of media consumption, how well this would actually benefit the regular everyday user that really doesn't do a lot of multimedia on their smartphone, whether we're talking about playing games or whether we're talking about watching movies, watching videos and things like that. I don't know how well it would benefit the regular everyday user that just browses things like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I really don't know how they would be benefited from a bigger screen. Obviously, they would get a bigger screen, but why would you want a phone that you have to open up? That's an extra step in your life, and it just takes a long time. But for me, that's a person that does everything on their phone and is a multimedia person overall. It does make sense for me, because I like knowing that I can have one device that suits my needs and one device that pretty much does everything for me. No longer do I need to even think about buying a tablet. No longer do I need to think about buying a smartphone. I can have one device that pretty much does it all, and honestly, I pretty much like everything about the Galaxy Fold smartphone. So anyway, this is just me talking about the industry and how things are going with foldable phones, and I am very excited to see the future of foldable phones. It's definitely a market that I'm interested in, and I definitely think a lot of people are interested in seeing what the future is of foldable phones, because it's something that we never seen with traditional smartphones, and it's also a fresh breath of air. Like I said, we only got things like your traditional smartphone, and your traditional smartphone style has been relevant for many years. Ever since I think the first iPhone came out in 2007, it's pretty much been the same design. Sure, we've gotten things like bigger screens. We also got things like bezel-less phones with no bezel, all screen on the front. But for the most part, it's still just one slab that you put in your pocket. So overall, I am very excited to see the future of foldable phones. I am interested to see the future of smartphones. How is each company going to interpret the take on foldable phones? Because there is no one way suits all, and there is no one way people love to do it. Everybody has their own implementation when it comes to foldable phones. So overall, the industry is very exciting, and it is getting me exciting as a tech enthusiast and as a YouTuber as itself, because I can sit down in front of the camera and talk about all these things that are very interesting when it comes to the next types of smartphones, when it comes to folding phones and just different weird smartphones as a whole. Anyway, guys, this is Wayne from My Tech News, signing out.